Hello everyone, welcome to NTV, specifically this program of life skills and health. Our focus of discussion today will be on sexual gender-based violence, and I'm glad to report that we are two facilitators for this session. My name is Semakula Henry. I work with the Ministry of Education and Sports, specifically in the Department of Guidance and Counseling. But I also do a lot of other work around issues of gender, HIV and human rights, so I work a lot with the units that undertake those responsibilities. I'm also a parent of 3 very handsome sons and a Rotarian. And my co-facilitator is?
My name is Faith Myra. I work as a youth country coordinator of the Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Alliance, Uganda. I'm very passionate about young people, especially the sexual reproductive health and rights needs. So this is very a candid conversation for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Myra. We also have a team of 4 wonderful young people, 2 ladies and 2 gentlemen. May we also know who they are?
Nakabuye Tierra.
Sande Hira. Kauma Paul.
And we're Janelle.
Okay, thank you very much, Janelle, Paul, Hirare, and my dear daughter. Now we shall hit the ground moving. We want to understand this concept of sexual gender-based violence. And I want to begin by asking, before I even ask, we are aware that in the lockdown, a lot of unusual things are happening, including so many that I can't mention on the screen here. But one of the critical ones happening currently is what we call sexual gender-based violence. So I want to ask my team here, who has heard about sexual gender-based violence in the communities where we stay? And possibly give an example.
I've, for one, heard about unwanted touches.
Yes.
And as the name says, these are touches that make someone feel uncomfortable.
Unwanted touches.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I've heard of rape.
You've heard of rape?
Yeah.
And what do you mean by rape?
Rape is simply forced sex, like forcing someone into unwanted sex.
Somebody is not your partner, somebody is
Yes.
not officially married to you, and you get there forcefully to have sex. Good? Hilary?
I have heard of defilement, and this is the way of engaging in sex with young people.
Young people. And when we come to the Ugandan context, who are young people?
Yeah, young people are those people who are under 18 years old.
Under 18 years of age. Okay, finally, Tierra, do you have something to say?
I think another example is incest, whereby incest is unwanted, like sexual relationships between family members or relatives.
Okay. And now there's a lot of trouble in the communities. Many relatives are locked up together. They never used to live together, but now they're in the same home. Cousins and nephews and grandies and uncles are all in the same home. In the situation where people no longer respect culture so much, we are likely to have quite a number of challenges, cases of incest, because those people are together and they're not moving out. Okay, I want to call my sister, Myra, to expound more on some of these cases of sexual gender-based violence. The young ladies and young boys have given us a good 4 of them.
Thank you so much, Henry. I want to agree with my fellow young people of the issues they've raised before, but also want to compliment on what they have said, that on top of what they've said, we are having forced prostitution or child prostitution that is happening in our communities. And we see so many of our parents selling off their own daughters that are very young in exchange for money to older men, to people in the community. But also we've seen raising cases of early marriages. These are forced marriages of children. Now that they are not in school, they are stuck at home. Parents are also not knowing what to do with them. So they're ending up sending them to marriage, which is not appropriate because these are really children and they're not supposed to be in marriage.
And because of the lockdown and unemployment, they are looking for quick cash.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it leaves a child in a position that is very vulnerable because they cannot overpower the authority of a parent. But then we have very persistent, harmful traditional practices that are happening in our communities. For example, the female genital mutilation. This has been even passed by the government of Uganda as illegal, but still it's happening in our communities. Our young girls are being forced into this circumcision. And then also we have things like forced male circumcision. I know that some tribes acknowledge this as a good
yes, it is a cultural practice
yeah,
in eastern Uganda.
in eastern Uganda,
Or Gishu region.
in Gishu region particularly. But then you'll find they are again forcing people that are not willing to have this circumcision. So this is also abuse in its own way. And then we have scenarios where young girls and young boys are being forced to get naked just for pleasure of other people that are enjoying to see them naked and forcing them to touch them and all that. So we have so many things happening, but just to conclude is we have also young people living with HIV, especially the girls, being forced into sterilization with the assumption that they do not need to, they won't stay
produce
longer,
children.
so they don't need to give birth to children and leave them there. This is an abuse because they have a right to become a mother one day when they decide to. So it's happening in our communities, and unfortunately we're watching it as community members. And then we have parents who are having sex in the presence of children now that they are stuck at home. You are having
Very
sex here.
unfortunate, and in
the
some
child-
homes there is no space.
Exactly.
The sitting room is the dining room.
Yeah.
The sitting room is the
bedroom.
It is the corridor. So it is really worse out there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
with all that, there is a lot happening, and this conversation is really important for whoever is watching us out there
And
to follow.
listening to us. Thank you very much, Myra, and the group of my young members here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is really true that the trend of sexual gender-based violence out there is very serious. The lockdown era came with the idea that people are seated at home. People seem to be doing nothing. People seem to be having a lot of time and space. And so the elders in the homes are doing all sorts of things. Like it has come from all of you. We've had the newspapers and the television stations report a number of these cases. You have not told any lie. We have districts that are even doing more bad off than others. When you hear of districts like Luka, when you hear of districts like Mayuge, when you hear of districts like Bujiri, the other time also Soka Sese is on top of the other challenges of floods, our young people are being defiled, and so on and so forth. But we want to inform the public and whoever is listening to us that sexual gender-based violence is an abuse of human rights. It is a denial of peace, it is a denial of rights, it is a denial of security to whoever is inflicting it on another. And we as educators from the Ministry of Education are actually already worried that if the children are out there at home getting pregnant, getting defiled, getting raped, then the possibility of not returning to school is also going to come. Because as we shall see later, definitely this sexual gender-based violence comes along with so many dangerous effects. Recently, I was checking some reports and I saw that in 2018, the annual crime report reported that cases of gender-based violence had risen to very insignificant numbers. They also indicated that one new form of bullying had come up called cyberbullying, where people are really being bullied via social media and so on, and they indicate a number of cases. The reports also indicate more males getting involved in sexual gender-based violence. In the past, the assumption was that maybe it is girls, maybe it is women, but now you hear young men being bullied sexually, young boys being bullied sexually, and so on and so forth. But you also want to appreciate that the sexual gender-based violence may not necessarily occur to everyone. There are people who have been a little careful or a little lucky. So who are those? Who are those that are really in the target of being defiled, of being raped, and so on? I'll quickly indicate to you that if you are looking for the most vulnerable, then the orphans are in the first lot. Because they need a lot of support, whoever they go to wants to use that as a moment of exploiting them. I must also inform you that children with special needs are also at a very high risk. Many times, those who can't speak, those who are dumb, those who are blind, may not really be in position to defend themselves. And the news has reported very often, we have often seen kids of this kind really being brought up with a pregnancy to which they had no control, and so on. The other targeted group are those who enjoy taking risks so much. Those who will go out for any program without even making any calculation. Those who want to go and drink silly. Those children that don't fear risk. After watching film, they think what they have seen in film will also happen in day-to-day life. But there's also a very high risk to our children on the streets. Much as they have left their homes, they are still children, and the human rights still fall within they are rich. But we find many of these really experiencing all sorts of abuse, including defilement and the rest. And of course, obviously, are those who want to be alone in most cases. The children who want to walk alone, the children who want to go to the well alone, and so on. And finally, for this session, may I also inform us that there are some signs which we can really see that may indicate to us that child A or child B or child C is really being abused. If I may quickly ask, could you be having any sign that you think you can tell that this child is being abused?
Personally, I think the children that may have been abused give off depression.
Depression.
Yes.
Depression is likely.
Like
They are
sadness,
very reserved.
yes.
At the end of the day, they look very stressed, and at the end of the day, they may withdraw from the public.
Yes.
Good. Could you be having another one, Paul? Or if you don't have for now, don't worry. I still have a lot to ask. But I'll indicate as I wind up this session that if a child is a school-going child, when it comes to those moments when this child appears more absent than usual, it is likely that an auntie somewhere is mistreating this child. It is likely that an uncle has influenced this girl into sex. It is very likely that some other very bad gentlemen are influencing this boy into habits that may even include sodomy. Then the other indicator that could really show us that a child is being abused sexually is the issue of wanting to be withdrawn, wanting to be lonely, wanting to be by herself or by himself all the time. I appeal to the parents, once your child begins now isolating, try to find out what is really causing trouble. She could be sitting on very dangerous wounds because of sexual gender-based violence. But of course, there are very clear indicators which we can see from the body. The child has different bruises in the face, different bruises on the cheeks, and on different parts of the body. And of course, those who often experience sexual gender-based violence are not in the mood. You'll see them wanting to cry. You'll see them very sad even when they have just taken lunch. They feel like they haven't eaten, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for this session.